We enter the Grandjean area in the Sawtooth Mountains. We're here because of the many sighting reports and one of them that were received from Grandjean. We finish a Bigfoot expedition in Mount St. Helens, Washington, and we head over to Idaho's Grandjean and the surrounding Sawtooth areas. We're checking up on Bigfoot sighting reports around Redfish Lake, Stanley Lake, and the notoriously famous Deadwood. This place has been on my bucket list. I've been very interested because my dad and uncle backpack camping between Stanley Lake and Redfish Lake had an up-close Bigfoot sighting. We've passed through the area several times in the past on our way to different Bigfoot expeditions over the years, such as the River of No Return and Deadwood Bigfoot expeditions. We're looking around the Grandjean area because of what James T.C. II reported to us. He writes us at RMSO. Hello, and thank you for allowing me to join this group. I've never told a soul about this, but I'm going to now. 1986, Grandjean, Idaho. We were camping on Memorial Weekend. I was taking a short walk at dusk. I smelled what I thought was a male goat. I saw a tree that I thought had moss on it. It wasn't moss. It was hair. Hair on the very long arm of a very tall being standing behind the tree, with its arm unshielded by the tree. Right as I got about 6 feet from the tree, he stepped out from behind the tree and looked at me. I froze. I looked up at his face and into his eyes. I saw curiosity in his dark eyes. He took a step towards me, reached out slowly towards me. I stood in terror and pissed my pants. I think he sensed my fear because his reach stopped midair, and he was sniffing. I could tell he smelled my pee or my sweat or both. I felt lightheaded as fear engulfed me completely. I passed out. When I came to, I was still overwhelmed with fear and I was shaking. He was gone from what I could see as it was almost dark. It took me a few minutes to get to my bearings, to get up and stand on my feet. When I got back to camp, everyone there was around the campfire. One of them saw that my pants were wet and asked me if I fell in the creek. I couldn't answer him. I tried, but only mumble come out. They all knew that I was very upset. I remember one of the gals helping me into the camper and into my sleeping bag. I could not bring myself to tell any of them what happened. One of them even jokingly said I must have seen Bigfoot. When he said that, it actually dawned on me that that's exactly what I'd seen. Bigfoot. It certainly was the last thing on my mind that day. I'd heard stories about Bigfoot, but never dreamed I would encounter one. I hope you do, man. RMSO responds. Have you been back to that campsite? James writes back. Yes, in 1998 I went back with friends. They didn't know about my encounter though, but I made sure I was never alone. I've often wondered if there have been other sightings at Grandjean. RMSO responds. Great share of your experience. Did you have sweat sleep for any period afterwards? What about the feeling of being watched or a lurking presence for some period of time after the encounter, particularly at night? James responds, yes, I did, especially at the family cabin in Cascade, Idaho. I always thought Bigfoot would show up at the cabin. Hi James, everybody at RMSO would like to thank you for sending us your report. We really appreciate it, and it helps put the area in perspective. I can see why James was afraid the Bigfoot was going to show up at the cabin. Between Grandjean, Idaho, there's the Deadwood area. The Deadwood's about halfway between Grandjean and Cascade, and there's literally nothing but forest and mountains in between there, so it's a huge habitat for a creature to live and to live in privacy for the most part. That's one of the reasons why people rarely run into the Bigfoot. They want to remain hidden. They have a vast area, and there isn't very many of them. The creature has to be really rare to only be spotted, a few dozen times a year. But that adds up to thousands of Bigfoot reports, over the last 100 years. One thing that I noticed in common about your report is Memorial Weekend. Let's face it, not very many people go camping until Memorial. Memorial's the big kickoff of the camping season. If you go the week or two before Memorial, there's hardly anyone up there, because I do often go for months and months leading up to Memorial weekend, and then bam, hordes of people. And I think a lot of time the animals and Bigfoot get caught off guard. All of a sudden, there's just people everywhere, campsites everywhere, vehicles, four-wheelers, ATVs, and starts pushing the creature around. And I'm sure they realize, if they want to remain hidden, they're going to have to head for higher ground. Yeah, if you just do a Google search for Memorial Bigfoot, you'll see several Bigfoot sighting reports over dozens of years where people claim to see Bigfoot over Memorial weekend. And then there's also several videos going around of Bigfoot being filmed on those weekends. So I do think the creature gets caught off guard. They can handle, a few people that here and there and remain hidden and do their thing, just like a mountain lion. A mountain lion's hardly ever spotted. In the northern part of Utah, according to the DNR, there's 5,000 mountain lion. But I've lived in Utah my whole life, and I've only ever seen 2 mountain lion out in the wild outside of my game cameras, with my own 2 eyes. The mountain lion want to remain hidden. Well, so does Bigfoot. All of a sudden, you got people everywhere, and I'm sure the creature gets a little bit confused at first. Where do I go? Well, just like the Indians call Bigfoot the Ridge Walkers, I think they start heading for higher ground to get away from the people. And that's one of the reasons why I go into an area. We take a good look around, and I like to sit at different locations and glass the ridge lines, hoping to get lucky, maybe capture a Bigfoot walking the ridge. I consider this part of the Sawtooth Mountains a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. We're going to take a look around. We're going to glass the area. We're going to do several hikes, especially in Bigfoot sighting locations from Redfish, Stanley Lake, Deadwood, and Grandjean. We're currently showing you the Grandjean area. I hope you enjoy the beauty of it. We're just surprised. I hear about these areas, I Google search them, I ask about them, I read up on them. It just doesn't do it justice until you get into places. And Grandjean, I'm just pleasantly surprised, the beauty and the remoteness. Okay, we're going to show you a few photos and glass around the area, show you what it has to offer. Bigfoot sighting hotspot, Grandjean, Idaho. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.